Recently on my channel, I talked about the Wiener S-Bahn Ring project and its potential benefits for the city. Today, we're going to dive deeper and look at some of the lesser discussed ring options, such as the large ring variant via Oberlaa. To examine this idea more closely, I invited Adam Unterweicher, a district councillor in Vienna's 22nd district Donaustadt, who, like me, shares the passion for providing better public transport in cities. Together, we're going to discuss why the large ring variant might actually be the better solution for Vienna's public transport system. In my last video about the Wiener S-Bahn Ring, I talked about the smaller ring variants, which would be a combination of the existing S45 and S80 services, as well as the Donau-Uferbahn, currently only used by freight trains. But Vienna actually has even more freight lines, which maybe have some untapped potential to also be used for passenger services. One example of this is the Donau-Ländebahn in the south of the city. The Donau-Ländebahn was originally opened in 1872, long before Vienna has grown to the size it has today. Between 1898 and 1944, the line even had regular passenger trains, albeit a very sparse service of about 3 to 4 trains per day. While the passenger trains have long gone, one of the old station buildings at Oberlaa still exists until today. Looking at the map, you can see that this line wouldn't just create a new tangential link, but could also be integrated into a larger S-Bahn ring line. Seeing as the smaller ring line has some challenges in being implemented, as I discussed in my previous video, I started wondering whether the larger ring variant might actually be an alternative S-Bahn ring solution. As a matter of fact, there have already been proposals like this in the past. For example, by the Green Party in Vienna's 22nd district Donaustadt. Their public transport concept sees the implementation of a larger ring line, combining the Donau-Ländebahn, the Donau-Uferbahn and the Vororte-Linie. Meanwhile, the routes of the S45 and the S80 would remain as they are today. But what would the benefits of this larger ring line be? And what would it take to make it a reality? Let's dive into the discussion. So Adam, what is the benefit of the larger S-Bahn Ring, in your opinion, as opposed to the smaller variant?
The larger S-Bahn Ring would connect more areas in the city, and it would reduce capacity on existing lines, like for instance underground lines in the inner city. And if you would have a larger ring, then the people wouldn't have the need to use the underground anymore if they want to get from the northern part of Vienna, for instance, to the southern part of Vienna. And it would also reduce major hubs like Hauptbahnhof and Meidling, because the people that bypass it at the moment could go around it, which would lead to more capacity on this big interchange stations.
Now, the ring line that you propose doesn't actually run through the 22nd district, which is the district where you're a district councillor. Why is this ring line nonetheless in your proposals, and how do you think that the 22nd district could benefit from it?
People who live in the 22nd district could benefit from it in a way that they don't have to go through the city center if they want to go to the southern parts of Vienna or to the western parts of Vienna, because with the Ring S-Bahn they could just get off after crossing the Danube River and then use the Ring S-Bahn to get to the south or to the west of Vienna.
Now, a benefit of the smaller ring variant would have been that it would improve public transport connections towards Vienna's 2 largest railway stations, Meidling and Hauptbahnhof, and the larger ring would actually pass by these 2 main important hubs. Why do you think it is a good idea to do this?
Because these 2 major hubs that you mentioned, the problem of them is that they were built too small for the capacity which is essential in the future. That's why we want to get rid of people that don't really need to interchange there, but only interchange now because there's no other possibility for them to get from A to B. And in future, if we have the big Ring S-Bahn, then people that aren't necessarily needing the Hauptbahnhof could use this Ring S-Bahn, and so they would free up capacity in Hauptbahnhof or also Meidling, which other people could use that really need to get to Hauptbahnhof or Meidling.
Now, Vienna has a long tradition of building underground lines out to the edge of the city to, use them as a kind of catalyst for urban development. And do you think that maybe this new S-Bahn Ring could also be a chance in Vienna's broader urban development strategy?
Yes, it could definitely be, because especially in the south of Vienna, you have a big proposed new urban place that's being built. It's called Rotneusiedl. And people who will move to this area or will live there in future, they would benefit from this S-Bahn Ring, because it would be easier for them to move around the city without you having to have a car. And also other places like in Simmering, Kaiser-Ebersdorf, for instance, which would also be a station where the S-Bahn Ring would pass by. There are also a lot of new houses that are built there, and also new development areas that are built at the moment. And they would also benefit from the S-Bahn Ring, so it could be a big chance for urban development.
What would you say are some of the challenges maybe in creating this line, or what sort of funding would need to be made available to build this line?
Some challenges we have are that some parts of the lines only have one track at the moment, and you would have to build a second track next to the existing one, which would cost a lot of money to do so and would take a lot of time. And there are also other things, because stations are missing, so you would have to build new stations on crucial places where it's very essential to have some. And the funding would have to come from the city of Vienna itself, but also from the government of Austria, because they always fund parts of things that are built in places in Austria. And they would have to agree on each other who pays how much of the money.
How realistic do you think the realization of such a line would be at the moment? Like also concerning the political playing field.
It's hard to say how realistic it is, because a lot of people that are in charge in politics, they say it's not really necessary to build it, because there are other things that should be built first or that have to be taken into consideration. But I think if the right people are in charge, that have the right ideas and know what is essential for the city to grow without building new streets or having more cars in our city, I think then it could be very realistic to build or to reopen this line, because it just needs the right people to be empowered to do so. But at the moment, I don't think that it's very realistic, because the wrong people are in charge or in power, and they are more focused on other projects like undergrounds or building new highways, like for instance the Bautunnel, which they want. So I don't think at the moment it's very realistic, but depending on the people, yeah.
Thank you, Adam. After the interview with Adam, I would like to add some of my personal thoughts about the larger ring variant. Back in December, when I did my first video about the Vienna S-Bahn Ring, I didn't include the larger ring variant, as I was rather sceptical about it, mainly for two reasons. First of all, the larger ring wouldn't provide the direct connection from Vienna's western districts to Vienna's two largest railway stations. And second, the larger ring would lie very far on the outskirts of the city, and I wasn't really sure whether there would be the demand for such a ring line. However, the idea has grown on me since. The ring line would provide new connections in areas which are currently relatively densely populated, but equally still rather car dependent, providing alternatives for journeys on public transport that are currently rather long. Also, the larger ring would be more independent from other passenger train routes and would avoid the congested areas around Meidling and Hauptbahnhof. And last but not least, more areas of the city would be served than if you were only to build the smaller ring. The reactivation of the Donau-Ländebahn could be seen as something relatively similar as what was done with the Vororte-Linie around 40 years ago. Back then, nobody believed that lots of people would use this service one day. And yet we can see it has become a real success story. What do you think about the larger ring line? Let me know in the comment section which variant you prefer, and I'll see you again in my next video.